Okay, I'm just going to hit record and get this started because I've been sat here trying to think of how to start a YouTube video. I've been doing a lot of absolute nothing. I don't have headphones, I don't have music, I'm not in my little streaming bubble. It's just me and a camera, which is weird. And it's weird, okay? I don't know how to explain it. But as you guys know, I put out a link for you guys to ask any questions that you want to know about me, apparently. To celebrate hitting 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is so cool, by the way. Having like the little K next to your number is like, here we go, we started it. I'm making it one of my things in 2025 to try and do more YouTube. So here we are. Kickstarting us off, we have a question about where we are from. So they've said, I'm sure you will, but where are you from will be a good one because people act like they don't know what Scotland is. Yes, I am from Scotland. I've lived here all my life. I currently live in Edinburgh, which is a very nice city. Very different to many other cities in the UK, but I know that my accent isn't the strongest. So it's quite easy for people to be like, oh, we don't know where you're from. Like, you sound English. We've had Irish, we've had Welsh, we've had, I think we've had German before, which is very interesting. Scotland is a great place and I'm very passionate about Scotland. I like it a lot, which you'll always see me putting it in my content because I think if there's a way for us to get Scotland on the map and including it in our content is maybe the way that I'd like to do that. Good question though. Next up, do you enjoy what you do and do you like meeting fans in inverted commas? Do you consider the people watching as your friends, family or fans, and would you become real life friends with your viewers? That is a very meaty question. I think one of the reasons that I wanted to do this and get you guys to ask questions is because I knew that some of you would come up with some really competent questions, and this is what I'm all about. So starting off at the beginning, do you enjoy what you do? I absolutely love this. As many of you know beforehand, I was a teacher, which is a very enjoyable job. And many people stick at teaching their whole life. But I saw an opportunity that I'd built up streaming and content creation. I decided that I want to go and do this full time. And that shows how much I enjoy what I do. Don't get me wrong, you can have bad days, of course. And you have to be quite strong-minded to do content and social media and stuff like that. But every day I sit down, I'm like, oh, I'm so lucky I get to sit on stream and chat with you guys and basically play games for a living. It's quite incredible. Do I like meeting fans? First of all, I probably would never consider people fans. Like even people have come up before in like TwitchCon and things like that and said, oh, like I'm such a big fan of your videos or things like that. But I will always see them as community members or like just people who watch our content. I don't think the moment I start thinking of like fans, I don't know, it's kind of weird to me. Maybe that's something that I'll get more accustomed to as we grow and as we continue doing our content. But for now, it's very much like I kind of see them just as members of the community. Like if you're watching streams or you're watching videos, you're in the community, you're in and about it, and I'm always gonna enjoy meeting new people as well. Do I consider the people watching as my friends, family, or fans? Again, I would be more inclined to say like community friends or community members. It's important to have, there's a line between being friends with your community members or calling them family. Like, I think there's definitely tiers to, like, you will be friends with some community members. You might have known them for a really long time, or you might have met them IRL, or you might have stayed in an Airbnb with them. But some people you really do need to like state that they're not necessarily your friends. Otherwise, it gives people an excuse to kind of say things that they wouldn't normally say. You know, it can make it a little bit weird sometimes. But for the most part, I'd always just, yeah, they're like online friends, if you will, and community members. And there's definitely different tiers that some of them are like closer to me, and I would consider them closer friends than others necessarily. But I think the ones that are like that know that. It's not like I have some sort of favoritism. Like, they will know that, and other people will most likely know that too. Would you become real life friends with viewers? I am real life friends with viewers, and I think that's what I was saying before about people start off as community members or people that watch your content, and there's almost like a step ladder in going from one thing to another. Like you start off as someone that watches like a video, then you join, like you follow them, and then you join their Twitch stream, and then next thing you know, you're coming back every day to say hello to them and check in on them, and then next thing you're joining a Discord and you're NVCs and you're speaking to certain people and you get on with them and you come back the next night to play games with them, and it becomes like a nightly or weekly thing that you do, and next thing you know, you're going to an event with that group, and you meet them IRL and you become IRL friends, and it's like, depending on how hooked you get into like a group of people or community or streaming community, like it's very probable that you could become IRL friends with people that view your content, because it's just the way you meet them. You end up going to events where they are and you say hello and you get on with them. And yeah, I mean, one of the things that I love about our job is that we have friends, online friends, that are dotted around Europe and like America. And I think if I picked somewhere like Scandinavia or the Netherlands or Germany or Texas, California, I'd have somebody that I knew from stream or our community that I could like buzz a message to and be like, I'm coming here, do you have any recommendations for things to do or restaurants? Like yeah, absolutely. So many online friends that absolutely when you meet them, you could become IRL friends. Really good question, by the way. Like, that's bringing out some really good answers. Do I have a girlfriend or boyfriend? I did think somebody might ask this, and in fairness, because of me being a teacher before streaming, it's always a big part of me to keep these things separate for professionalism and everything. But the more I do this, the more I actually realize that it's not really that bad a thing to speak on stuff like that. It's more a personal choice. And in fairness, with the amount of time that I spend streaming, editing, working on growing our brand, whether it's like merch and also combined with like living with my 2 flatmates and going to the gym, like, no. But I always do say that I'm married to my community because I spend more time with them than I do anyone else, apparently. When will I start aim training for Val? I don't know who you are that said this, but I will find you and I will kill you.
I swear, I will find you and I will kill you.
I aim train. I was going to lie, actually. I was going to say I aim train every day, but I definitely don't. I do sometimes aim train before stream, though. So I'd like to think I'm not terribly bad for that. The next one just says #DunkTwerk. You guys can pray all you want for that, but it ain't gonna happen. Who's your main inspiration behind the start of your streaming journey? Wow, incredible question. I would say I first started looking at Twitch and looking at streamers back when I was in uni, and there was an Apex streamer called Corrupt something. He was the first streamer that I properly watched like while I worked. And if anything, I wanted to have the viewers that he had and do streaming like him. So technically, he would be the first streamer that I properly looked to wanting to be like. I would say them. I don't think he still streams, which is a shame. But in fairness, like, weirdly enough, the streamers that I'm friends with, like, we have so many friends that stream that are doing certain things that we're not, or they're reaching places that we're not, and not in like a jealous way. I mean more so like, I want to do what they're doing. I want to work hard, and they're almost part of my like inspiration to go and do more and put more effort into my work. Like, I'll have conversations with certain people on a daily basis or bi-daily basis, and they'll talk about stuff that they're doing. I'll be like, whoa, that sounds cool. I want to do that. And I generally think I've surrounded myself with a good group of people that do what I do and are doing things either in places that we haven't or are doing more than us. And that's the inspiration that basically that pushes me to do more. And I generally do believe that we'll be able to get to their level, but it'll take time, and I want to do it my own way, you know? And that next question is about language. If you could speak any language in the world, what would you choose and why? My favorite language that I would still consider I can't speak it is Spanish. And I love it. I love the culture behind Spain, and I really enjoy speaking it when I go and travel to Spain and force myself to speak it. And I would say that if I could become fluent in Spanish, I would love that. And I know there's obviously cooler languages that other people might think out there. Like, I know a lot of people that I know want to go to Japan, so they might say like Japanese, because Japanese is such a like different language from like a European language, for like example. Like, if I already know a little bit of Spanish, do I want to pick Spanish because I'm already a little bit into it, or do I want to pick a completely unrelated language like Japanese that would be able to do that? So I would still stick with Spanish, but I know that would only get me so far in the world. Moving on to the next question. Do you feel like you've changed as a person after growing as a streamer? If yes, how and why do you think so? I would definitely say I've developed as a person while growing as a streamer. And I think purely from the perspective of being able to respond to certain like scenarios more easily, or feeling more confident in reaching out and talking to certain people, or maybe changing like my perspective. I think I've definitely changed slightly. Like I don't think me as a person, like my personality, or I'd like to think I've stayed authentic and I've stayed who I am. Like on stream the other day, we were looking at clips from me back in the day when I'd get like 1 sub and I'd say the exact same thing that I do now. Welcome to the family. You gifted 5. You guys are crazy. You guys are crazy. No! My way on stream has not changed as I've grown as a streamer. Like I've not changed personality wise, but my competency to be able to deal with like haters or be more composed in crazy or big gifting scenarios, I would say I've developed better, because we've done big streams where like in the nicest way possible a lot of money has come through, and like little me, like 2020 streamer Dunk would have fainted and would have like flipped out. No! And I think I did flip out, but I was able to like go back to doing the games somewhat afterwards while also being grateful for everything happening, which I think is an important skill when you don't want to flip out. You know what I mean? If you want any more clarification on that, fire in a comment in the comment section and I will reply as well. Moving on, what are some controversial things in the community that you've resolved? I don't really want to go in depth on this, to be fair, but we have had our fair share of controversial stuff happening in the community. And it usually revolves around like a person doing something or people doing nasty things you then have to like confront or get rid of. It is the one thing about when you collect such a big group of people that spend a lot of time online, there is a high chance that some of the people you bring into your community aren't necessarily going to be best accustomed to like social norms or things that you'd normally think, okay, that's not a normal thing to do or say, or I shouldn't say that because that'll make them feel weird. And so things like that do happen. And, you know, I could come back from a holiday and have a DM being like, this has happened and all this needs like sorting out. And it does just take maybe a couple of weeks to resolve. But in all fairness, I've learned the hard way that if people are bad eggs more than once, it's likely that they'll be absolutely to do it again. And then so in fairness, I've been more so recently over the past few years, I've been more effective at just getting rid of bad people. So it's quite easily resolved in that sense because you can just get rid of them, but it first happening in the first place is obviously not ideal. So yes, we have. Next question is, when and how did you realize that you wanted to be a content creator? I did think questions like this would come up because obviously we're in a very niche area of job and I think people are looking for like a big crazy answer to this. But in all fairness, I didn't wake up one day and think I want to be a content creator. I started streaming while I was in uni, training to become a PE teacher. I thought I was going to be doing PE teaching. And I don't know, after a couple of years, it started making money and I was like loving doing it. I did it for however many months. Well, I did it for like a year and a half without making any proper money. And I still enjoyed it. So when the opportunity to make money with doing something that I was loving so much came about, it like felt natural to be like, of course I want to do this. And when I was younger, I was part of like that group of watching YouTubers as you grew up, like Rotor Shore, FIFA pack openings, Squad Builder showdowns, like AJ, Spence, like that whole YouTube era was what I watched and grew up with. And obviously, when you're in school, you're thinking, oh, I'd love to be a YouTuber and all that, but it's difficult to start it because you don't want people being like, oh, look at that guy, he started YouTube, what a weirdo. But you do just have to bite the bullet. So when I was uni, I found myself around a good group of people and I knew that they wouldn't judge me for it. So I just started to do it. And yeah, I was really lucky that my friends around me were supportive and got involved with it. And yeah, it just felt so natural for me to go and try and do this full time because I was able to make money while doing something I absolutely loved. And that's a trend that you'll find a lot of self-employed people do. They find something they love doing and they're able to make money through it. Yeah, there's no glamorous answer for that. And I feel sorry for that, but that is the authentic answer. Warzone Customs. No, Warzone Customs are not making a comeback. I played those back in the day, and I think I got some of my highest viewerships on Warzone Customs consistently. However, they brought some of the most toxic people I've ever come across, and I've played Val for quite a few years now. Next question is on dyslexia, which is an interesting one. How has your dyslexia impacted learning or playing games? Very good question. I would say in terms of learning, I mean, it feels natural to me now, but my dyslexia through school was a lot of information processing and reading. And so like learning's been a consistently tricky thing to maneuver with dyslexia. And I would say it's impacted my ability to learn, if you will, or especially at the younger ages. But once I hit uni, I had my support items in place, like my glasses or my overlays or things like extra time. So it was kind of mediated quite well by the support that I had in place. And then when I do streaming, like I know what works for me and I know what doesn't work for me. So I feel as if I'm able to move around it quite well. Like I use an app called, it's actually on my home screen right now. Before you lot say exclamation mark phone, this is a business maneuver, but I have an app literally sat there, which is called Forest, which when you start a timer, it grows a tree. And if you go on your phone while the timer's active, it kills the tree. And it works for me. So I always use that when I'm editing or working, and it tricks my brain into making sure I can't distract myself while I work. So I guess learning wise, it has affected me, but I've kind of somewhat learned to get around it. In terms of playing games, it depends what game I'm playing, because I'll struggle with certain like types of games, like Wordle, obviously a word-based game, anything spelling, anything that makes you have to work really effectively under pressure. Like I'll need the extra time, or I'll need, things to help me slightly with those type of games. And I'm completely comfortable. Like we are at the stage now where our content is around dyslexia, so I'll just rip the piss out of myself, and that's how it is. I'm aware that there's certain games that we maybe can't play the best, but we're not a streamer that is the best at every single game, so I'm completely okay with that. But that's an interesting one, because I've never really reflected on how it's actually affected me playing games, in fairness. So I like that. And again, if you want any more clarification, feel free to ask. If you could work with any brand, who would you pick? Now, this is an interesting one, because the one I'm gonna say is probably based on this year, and it's the same with actually the goals I made early in the year. But a brand I would really like to work with, and technically more than a brand, is Riot Games. I've dedicated a lot of my how many years playing Val and making content around Val, and all my kind of streamer friends and everything that we're involved with on a daily basis all play Val, and I think they provide a lot of opportunities to really take that next step in what we're doing, streaming and content creating wise, and meet new people and really upgrade and level up the type of content that we can do. And I think if I was to work with them, I would be able to bring a lot to the table, but also that would allow me to take that next step. There's loads of events that they put on throughout the year, like VCT and all sorts, and I would just love to get involved. It's everything that I resonate with. I'm a very people's person, and I feel as if getting in and about the people for events and things like that, I just love it, man. So that's my goal for this year, is to get involved with Riot Games. So if you're watching this, hello, my name's Duncan. What is my favorite thing that Stream has named? Wow, very good question. It's probably quite controversial, but it's probably the command centered around my phone. Even though I act like I hate it when you guys give the exclamation mark phone command on stream. For anyone that doesn't know, when I go on my phone while I'm streaming, people in chat can put exclamation mark phone, it'll add a counter to the amount of times that I've been on my phone this year. And although I act like I hate it, it actually subconsciously makes me stay away from going on my phone, because I know that chat will notice it. They can see it every time. Ain't no way I'm hiding it. They know. So it keeps me off my phone and forces me to really engage with messages. And if chat isn't flowing, it's my fault, because I'm not making the effort. So it actually works really well. And I think, although I act like I hate it, hats off to you. It's a really good thing. Question number, I don't know how many. How did you meet your flatmates? Oh wow, there's multiple questions in this. Let's start with, how did you meet your flatmates? Adam and Riley, the two boys that I live with that many of you guys might have seen on stream. Two different boys I met two different ways. Riley I went to school with, so I've known him for a very long time. This is actually the first time us living together, even though I've been through uni and lived up north in Scotland for a year. Like, this is actually the first time of us living together. So although I knew him since school, he's kind of been working at home most of the time while I was in uni, and it never really lined up for us to live together, apart from obviously last year when we moved in. Adam, I met in uni, first year of university. One of the boys on my course called Dave, you guys might know and have seen if you were in the stream for a long time. I invited him round to my flat one night. I think we were about to go out or something, and Dave said that he had a mate from home called Adam, and was he all right to bring him? And I was like, yep, sure, that sounds good. And then he brought him round, and that was the first time I met Adam. He proceeded to pump me on FIFA that night, which I then decided I wasn't going to be friends with him, but here we are however many years later, and I'm currently living with him for the second time in a row, so it can't have been that bad. But yeah, it's just one of those things that coincidentally happened, but it lined up perfectly. And he's in and about like our friend group that we currently have that I can't see changing, so very fortunate timing, and I'm very glad it happened that way. Best childhood memory, I mean, it's going to be gaming related. It's literally going to be playing like Halo Reach on the Xbox 360 or playing FIFA 13 on the Xbox, Wii Sports, my PlayStation 1, my Game Boy Advance with Pokemon. Like, there's loads of childhood memories, don't get me wrong, and they're all special for different reasons, but if you were to say consistently, I've always just loved games, and I would say, yeah, I would say it's either family related or it's gaming related. Following on from that, I've been asked my favorite drink. That's quite an interesting one, because I think you'd probably all be like, oh, he's going to say Iron Brew for the Scottish heritage, but I would actually, it's a difficult one. I don't necessarily know if I have a 100% favorite drink. You guys know I love my J2Os, obviously, but I think, if you were to go with the thing that I drink the most, is literally like diluting juice and water. Some people hate on water, but if you're from England, you're going to be wrong, and you're going to call it squash. You're just wrong. I can't go wrong with it. I like it too much, and it's a nice drink. I'll never get bored of it. Favorite video game of all time. Now we're getting into the juicy topics. I like this. A close second is probably Halo Reach. Absolutely loved that game. That was my first proper God, I'm saying a lot, aren't I? Ugh. You get better at this whole YouTube thing. Stop saying like. Yeah, Halo Reach. Absolutely loved that game. The game mode where shooting a headshot was a one-shot kill, even with a pistol, was my favorite. I played that religiously. But number one is probably the OG Driver on the PlayStation 1. That was my first proper game that I got addicted to. And I just played it so much. It was mega addicting, and I couldn't get enough of it. Otherwise, it would easily be Pokemon. But I was trying to think of console-based games. But if we're allowed other games outside of console, it would have to be Pokemon. Pokemon would be actually, Pokemon's going to be above Driver. I'm gonna take that back. Pokemon's going to be above Driver. Specifically, Pokemon Gold is what I had on my Game Boy Advance, and I played that religiously when I was younger. So I went from Pokemon on the Game Boy Advance to Pokemon cards to then playing on the Nintendo. Realistically, it probably is Pokemon. Would you ever go back to teaching? If I had £1 for every time somebody asked me this question, wouldn't they be having to work? I'll tell you that. But I have always said, more so recently, because what I'm doing right now, I love so much, I could never not do it. If I did go back to teaching, I would still be doing this on the side. I would only go back to teaching if it got to a point where I decided that, I was too old, or streaming and content creation wasn't going to work out, and I just knew that I had to go into something more consistent in a financial sense. I think that would probably be, I would never choose to drop everything content creation wise and go and do something else. So I don't know if that answers it. I think ideally I'd like to stay and do streaming and content creation. Plan B would maybe do getting a part-time job within content creation or esports or editing or something like that. And then maybe plan C would be the old going back to teaching. But for now, I ain't going nowhere. Wow, there's a lot of questions in this one. You guys really like the old, I'm going to ask one question, but then just add 50 million other questions in your paragraph. What is my favorite sport? It's probably football, easily, I think. I played a lot of hockey, field hockey when I was in uni. I played in goals, but the more I think about it now, I play football nearly every week. I watch football. It's just the goat of sports. Where in Scotland would you recommend us to visit? Depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for the cozy medieval city, I would come to Edinburgh and look at the castle and explore there. There's so many things you can do. It's not just one small city. But if you're looking for more remote stuff and you like your landscapes or your, the Isle of Skye and going out and seeing the beautiful views that you can get out there, it's a completely different experience to Edinburgh, but both are very, very sought after. So I'd weigh up what it is that you want to come to Scotland for and then choose accordingly. If you could be an animal, which animal would it be? Now you guys are asking the good questions. I don't know. Sheep look pretty happy. Just chewing grass all day and just bang. I could get on board with that. Otherwise, I don't like the deep seas, so I probably wouldn't go for a fish. Anything on land is prey. So maybe I do go for a bird. I think I can teach myself not to become scared of heights. I think I might actually go for the bird. I think I might go peregrine falcon and just be a goat in the skies. Favorite childhood snacks? Sesame sticks. If any of you guys know what sesame sticks are, that is the absolute goat. They are crunchy little pieces, and I remember anytime we go to the shop and they were in there, I'd ask for sesame sticks. Can you tell us one random fact that you know? When people say you're sweating like a pig, that doesn't make sense because pigs don't have sweat glands. I always think of that when people say that, and I'm like, do I stick myself in here and say that, or will I sound like a pompous twat? But I feel as if that's always something that stuck with me. What's a really random item that I own? That is a very good question. I don't know. What's a really random item that I own? Maybe it's not like a random item, but I have an ungodly amount of lip salves, like whatever these are. Like, I have genuinely a million of these in my drawer. Like the Vaseline lip salve things. I don't know if that counts. What is one of my favorite memories from streaming? Love you lots, Duncan. I'm proud of you and I'm lucky to call you my friend. Wow. That's very wholesome. Thank you so much. I'm trying to think who you are. I feel as if that's worded like Perla. I'm going to guess that. One of my favorite memories from streaming. It's difficult because there's so many. I would say the two that spring to mind are when I get to stream from DreamHack. I absolutely love being in a venue while streaming and kind of people getting to see what you're doing. It seems quite surreal to me. But in terms of achievements, like favorite moments, there was one time, I think it was just over a year ago, not last December, but the December before, we were streaming and our community on Twitch completed my donation goal for my rent and my deposit that month. And I remember celebrating so much, and I got my mum to come on stream, and she sat and we had a conversation, and chat was really wholesome to her, and it was like a very surreal, not a I've made it moment, but you know that feeling of you kind of sat and you're kind of sat there thinking, wow, this is quite crazy. I would say that was a really surreal moment for me, just kind of being sat with my mum on stream after they'd just done something incredible for me and just thinking, what the hell was going on? Hello, this is Post-Production Dunk. I knew we had a lot of questions, but I didn't anticipate it was going to be this many. So I'm actually going to break this into 2 parts, and this is the end of part number 1. I hope it's been good so far and you've enjoyed it. However, if you didn't have your question answered, do not worry. I'll be posting the rest on Saturday as a kind of 2-parter for this week. So Wednesday and Saturday. They're not going to be too far apart, which means you'll still get to see the video by the end of the weekend, but I think it's best if we split this into 2, just so it's not one massive long video. I hope you understand. I'm going to be reading and replying to all the comments you guys drop below, so feel free to ask any questions you've had of today's part number 1, and anything else will be answered in the video posted later in the week. See you guys then.